Alright guys, consider this part 2 of the COVID diaries. Just thought I'd run through some still shots I took of the table, only because it looks so darn nice. And maybe run through some thoughts in my head, considerations, etc. If we look at the first shot, you'll see the cards that I typically use for the Battles of Napoleon system, which has become, not quickly, over a long period of time, become my favorite rule system for Napoleonics. With the cards, you get each unit type and then a leader for that unit group. So, for instance, if you look at the card to the far right by the measuring sticks, you'll know that that is a cavalry unit group. The card represents each unit in that unit group, and then the leader card above is the leader for that unit group. And then the orders card is on the leader card. 4 sides to this card, depending on what your order is, ranging from attack, defense, maneuver, and reserve. And then to break that down further, which is one of the cool things about this system, is each order has a number, and that is your initiative number. And it works such that both sides will look and see who has it starts with attack orders and who has the lowest number for an attack order, and then work your way up numerically, and that's who gets to activate. And then it hops to, I think, maneuver, and then defense, and then reserve is the highest number, so they'll go last all the time. The measuring sticks aren't really needed since I've got all these hexes. Every once in a while I act like these are not hexes and use measuring sticks just because it does present a different appearance and kind of a different way of maneuvering across the table. So that's why I have those. But more likely, I typically use those to just point where things are when I'm filming. What else? Little dice tray here is a cigar box. I have a fantastic deluxe, wonderful dice tray that I use every once in a while, but it's just so big is the only problem, as if there could be such a thing. But yeah, it's a little too big. So I tend to use this little cigar box thing that I've put a black foam lining on the bottom, and 2x6 system, so that's all you're going to see in here is a couple of D6. And for those that don't know, this is the Callistra hex-based system. They are overseas, not seized. And I had been admiring these for quite some time before I thought, well, hell, there's nothing that says I can't order these and have some myself if other people do. So I think I did probably 3 separate orders. The first shipment was just enough to do the commands and color stuff, and then I expanded out from there. And they sell all kinds of stuff. If you're curious, it's Callistra Limited. I purchased a bunch of panels of hexes for large sections and then single sections, river hexes, sloped hexes, marshes. I'm probably forgetting something. They do sell road hexes, but I tell you what, this flat cork board that you can get is just as easy, and you can cut it to the size you want. So that's what I typically use. Let's go to the next shot. And here's a shot looking up the river. The basis for this setup was the ambush map, if y'all remember. So that's why, and it may look a little funny, we have troops attacking from the bottom of the table, running along the length of the river instead of across it. 99 times out of 100, you see a river and a bridge. It's going to be one side on the one side of the river and the opposing side on the opposite side of the river. So, not the case here. And I thought, well, that's different. That's cool. It looks better. May not make sense in your heads, but doesn't mind. So we had the British running up the length of the stream towards the French, who are just behind the road, moving left to right here in this shot. That is just in front of the little town that we have here. Also, I would recommend anybody interested in running a table like this, invest in, if nothing else, invest in some clump foliage, 2 different colors. Get the dark green and the light green for variation, and spread that out on the table. It just breaks up large swaths of empty blank space. Sometimes I like the empty blank space. Other times it just looks nice broken up, the continuity of it. So there's that. I guess another thing that stands out is the unpaintedness, the nakedness of these plastic soldiers. And I've said it before, I'll say it again. I've painted the 28 millimeter stuff that I had collecting dust, and that was 6 months of hell. I'm happy with the end result. But I'll be damned if I sit and paint all these guys. As much as I would love the end result, I just don't have it in me. And, to be honest with you, they look just fine without all the paint. Such being the scale that they are, yes, you'll see some variation, but you don't get the detail that stands out on a table with, 13.5 millimeter that you will with a 28 millimeter. So, yes, I guess there's no excuse to have unpainted 28 millimeters, but anything below that can be unpainted in my book. And then if we go to the next picture, we have a nice drone shot from just above the town with the French commander-in-chief. A couple things you'll notice here. The bridge just in front of the church. Black foam board with a print that I found online that I printed off and glued over the top of it, and I just bent the foam board and it stays bent. So that's what I use for these little cheap handmade, ready to go bridges. Got about 3 or 4 of these that I typically use for commands and colors, but I'll bust it out for here too. I do have a bigger resin bridge, but that's just the case, the fact that it's a little too big for this scale. It looked out of place. And then the poker chips, I run back and forth on what to use for objective markers. I still am not completely 100% satisfied ever. But this go around, I did use the just these clay heavy-weighted poker chips for the 3 victory objectives. And then the stand that the French commander-in-chief is on is actually a plastic stand that comes with the, I can't think of the name of it now. It's a samurai skirmish game that, oh good lord, that was fairly popular for a while. I ordered what I thought was a starter kit, but it was an expansion kit. So I never really got traction on that, but I was going through some stuff a while back and noticed these bases, which the big circle has the 3 smaller circles that the leaders are based on, and they actually can pop out and be switched out. Not that I ever typically do that, but that is an option were I so inclined. The buildings themselves are from Sarisa Precision something or other, and it's great stuff. It's laser cut, little thin wood laser cut stuff. You punch it out, glue it together. And I went with this painting style for everything to kind of maintain conformity here of look. With, I believe this is actually the dark red is actually some oil-based, a big tube of oil-based paint that I found at a art store. Because believe it or not, that color, the hue, that red that I was going for was not easily obtainable. So I had to hunt and peck a little bit for what I was going for. And then the gray is just, for the roofs, is brushed on, all of it brushed on. I think I did primer these guys because the wood just soaks up the paint. So primering is kind of necessary if you're going to go this route. And then if we head to the next picture, is a nice faraway shot. Looking up the road, down the strip, just a bit. And if you see way off in the background a windmill, I always thought a windmill lends a nice air to a gaming table. You'll also notice to the right of the town a little graveyard. Also Sarisa precision stuff. We'll get to that, I think, here in a second in a better shot. You may also notice the elevated terrain that the town is on. There are actually 3 elevations of terrain, and I don't typically do this, but it sure worked out nice. And it entailed using everything I own Calistro-wise with these hexes to raise this stuff up. But in the bottom of the picture, I guess you call that the foreground, is the lowest level, and the town is on the 2nd level, and then behind that with the windmill is your 3rd elevation. So not something I did typically do, but kind of proud of how that came out. And then we cut to, there's our shot of the graveyard. No bearing or effect in the game whatsoever, but again, I just feel like it adds a nice ambiance to the whole table. Threw down some sticks here to the left of the building just for some, again, to break up continuity. If you look to the side of the building just behind the church, you'll notice some hay bales. And the jury's still out on this, at least for me. Napoleonic era. How did they gather and store their hay? Was it rolled? Was it in bales? Was it in haystacks? I'm probably guessing this is incorrect. This is probably more of a early 1800s thing. Once you had hay bales, I don't know, the ability to bale them with the wire. So that's probably historically inaccurate. Not exactly sure, but I'm guessing it is. Anyway, again, just adds a little flavor to the town. Also, you'll notice a little tuft or clump of wheat in between the trees and the sticks. Those are actually functional, and those represent boundaries for the table. So I run about every 3 or 4 hexes a little tuft of wheat, and that creates the boundary for the top and the bottom of the board. Necessary because you can route off map and become eliminated accordingly, so need that. So that's what I use for that. And then our final shot here is kind of just a front view hanging back. This is still turn 8. I have 2 turns left of this, but this is still turn 8. No, this is more of a side view, I'm sorry. If you go right to left, that's your front view. So this is more of a side view. This is the extreme British left attacking the French right. Trying to take an objective there, which I think they have, right? Just on the far side of the stream there of the French. And that's what we're looking at there. What else? Anything I failed to mention? The trees that you'll notice throughout all these shots are a combination of, I'd say, 1, 2, 3 different types. And that's straight, I forget the name of it, but train scenery stuff. The trees are another thing I ponder over, and you know, I've said this in a recent video, but if you put 2 or 3 trees out, it looks like 2 or 3 trees, which is fine if that's what you want. But usually with what I do, I will need a good representation of dense forest or woods, and 2 or 3 trees just doesn't cut it. Again, it just looks like 2 or 3 trees. So I keep fiddling with different ways. I have even tried cutting out black foam the same size as one of these hexes to create the effect of blocking out the sun and just piling tons of clump foliage on it to make it look like a densely packed wood. Does have that look, but again, when you're playing with 13.5 to 15 millimeter figures, yeah, you got to kind of use your imagination still a little bit. Anything maybe 6 millimeter, 10 or 6 millimeter might work better. And then with this, I finally tried out a new way of representing woods with tightly packed, dense, every tree I own. Let's see, this would be turning around 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 sections of densely packed wooded areas, and it seemed to work out fairly nicely. It didn't just look like 2 or 3 trees. It looks like little areas of woods. So I think that's about it. If there's any questions anybody has, any comments, suggestions, what do you guys do? What would be your dream ideal setup for tabletop? And I have to say, this is getting pretty close to what my imagination came up with a few years back, what a great, awesome table would look like, I feel like I'm pretty much there. Again, it would be the ultimate if the troops were painted, but I just don't have it in me. So there you go. And then the final thing I wanted to mention, I don't know if y'all get this. Maybe one of you do. The two fart laddies. What is that? It's not ladies, it's laddies. For those of you that are unfamiliar, there's a gaming company called Two Fat Lardies. This is all meant in niceties and love. I get a kick out of those guys, but I thought I'd take a play on their company name and change it to, instead of TOO Fat Lardies, TWO Fart Laddies, as I kind of nod towards them and kind of a jab. And that's it. All right, guys. Hope everybody's doing well. I'm slowly trying to heal up here from the COVID. You may hear from me again at some point. Otherwise, I need to figure out how to end this. And let's go this route. All right. Talk to you soon.